All right, welcome to Mr. Joyrider Gaming, and we are doing another ranking today. I played every port of Commando, the 1985 arcade game, which I've never played before. And I was aware of its existence. I'm not sure why I never played it. I think maybe the top down, something about it was a turnoff, and I have no idea why, because this game is great. And I'm going to rank every different port that I could find. If I'm missing one or two, I apologize, but I think we got around 15 or 16 different ports of this. So let's check it out. This is Commando in every different system you can find. Originally a Capcom game and distributed in North America by Data East, and then you got Elite. And we'll talk all about it coming up. It's Commando, and we're going to rank them. All right, first up, we got to deal with the granddaddy of them all, as they say. This is the arcade version. The original came out in 1985 by Capcom, creators of Mega Man and DuckTales. Everyone loves Capcom, and Street Fighter and everything else. And this version, it's very cool looking. A couple of the home console versions will look as good as this, or almost. I know that the Atari or the Commodore Amiga version is going to look pretty good like this. And there's another version as well. But let me just say, I don't know what it was about this game that made me not want to play it in the arcade. I remember they had it in the arcade. I remember walking past it and deciding I wasn't going to play it. And in retrospect, I love Contra. Everyone loves Contra. This is just overhead. It's Contra with an overhead view. Even in Contra and some of the sequels, they did do that. So it's the same kind of deal. One-hit kills. You've got, run and gun, and it's so much fun. In the arcade, you probably would pump a lot of quarters in there. That's why it's good to have some of the home console versions. But yeah, man, it's good. My only complaint is that it's very, 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 very hard. And you can't even flip the dip switches to make it much easier than it already is. So that's my only complaint. And it makes, because it's so hard, limited amount of guys, you don't get very far, and I guess you could get better at it the more you play it. And probably the intent of the arcade version, but it gets an A. It's very, very difficult, but man, it's fun. It's the arcade version of Commando, and it's an A. Commando, released in 1986 on cassette, and this is the version that was on the Acorn Electron, which was a home computer released in Great Britain. Now, this is the first game I've ever played on the Acorn Electron, and I will say that I'm not impressed. As you can tell, the character barely moves. It runs slow. Then maybe that's just the way it's being emulated. I don't know. It's hard to tell what's what because there's only like 3 or 4 colors on the screen, and it's barely even playable. I was able to get it to load. I was able to make it work, but I'm gonna have to give this one, based on the playtime alone, I can only get about 5 minutes in, and yeah, I'll give it a D because it's not so broken that it's not playable. That's the only way I'm gonna give Fs. So amongst the other Commandos, this one gets a D. Next, we're on to Commando 1989 for the Commodore Amiga, and this by far is one of the, if not the best looking version of the game on any of the home consoles. It plays smooth. It's difficult, but not impossible. I had a little bit of trouble getting my gamepad to work with it, but that's probably just because it's a Commodore game. Those are harder to. It seems like it. Those are harder to emulate. So based on all of that, I would give this great-looking game a B amongst the Commandos. This one gets a B. All right, now we're looking at another 1985 version for the Amstrad microcomputer, but this is another one that's really great looking compared to especially some of the games you can't really even see. I'm not sure why I didn't like the Commando, why I wasn't attracted to Commando in the arcade, but for a home console, it looks great, and this game plays really well on this. Published by Elite, and this game gets I'll give it a B. It's a B. Okay, next up we've got Commando on the Apple II. This was made by Data East, and it came out in 1987. Yeah, this one, the controls were incredibly awkward and slow in this version. I could only end up playing it for a couple of minutes because the way that you kind of point the gun, you've got to point towards and you end up getting stuck behind trees and you get trapped, and it's okay. Not as bad as the Acorn Electron, but it's still barely even playable, really. I'm going to have to give this one, I'm going to give it a D. Not a lot of room for, wiggle room with these. Okay, some Atari here. Atari ST. This is Commando for the Atari ST, and graphically beautiful. It looks as good as the Amiga version, and it plays really well. The controls work well. It does this weird thing where it shoots out a burst of bullets, and then it's like a tick of a wait before you can fire again. That's annoying, and it gets you killed. The main complaint about this game is that it's just really, really, really hard. It's very, very hard. It's very hard. There's a lot of bad guys coming out and they're killing you, and you die pretty quickly. It's more like an arcade experience in that way. It's not that it's not fun. It's fun. Definitely like it. I like how it looks. It's just very hard. So I will give this one a B. It's I'm gonna give it a C. I'm gonna give this one a C because I couldn't play it as long as I played the other ones. All right, this one gets a C for being just very hard. All right, now, wow, we've got the BBC microcomputer, and this one had to be, I think, around 1985, 1986 that this came out. And, well, take a look. It's interesting. Now, before, like, 2 years ago, I had never seen these systems because in America, we didn't have them. And so it's really exciting. It's like an alternate world of video games that I didn't know existed, and the systems I didn't know existed. And that's really interesting. I'm really digging checking out these games on these lesser known around here systems. So this one, it's going to look a lot like some of the other home computers, like the the ZX Spectrum. The problem with this one is that it's very slow and difficult to control. So it's going to get a D because of those things. The sheer coolness of it, though, I would give it more points if I was being more generous, but I'm going to give it a D. It's a D. All right, next we got the Commodore 64 version. This one, it looks pretty good. I mean, it doesn't look as good as the Amiga, but this is a very nice looking version of the game. Compared to some of the other ports of this, it looks really good, and it plays pretty well. It moves, everything moves along pretty well. I hate that Commodore joystick, but it is what it is. At this point, I think I might have started getting sick of playing Commando, which is maybe why such a low rating on this. I remember playing through it and thinking that it was one of the worst ports. So I'm going to give this one a D because of what my notes say. So it's Commodore 64. It's hard, again, another really difficult one. It plays kind of, the controls don't work right, and it's going to be a D because of that. All right, next we've got Commando Enhanced. This was released on MS-DOS in 1999, and this one was a hard one because I couldn't get my joystick to work for it, so I had to use a keyboard. I'm not that good on keyboard, but surprisingly, this one I kind of had a lot of fun playing, and I would recommend this one. I would give this one, believe it or not, it gets an A. It looks weird. I'm going to give it a B. I gotta go B. I was gonna give it an A, but then I'm looking at it again, and it's really hard to make out what's going on the screen unless you're the one that's playing it. You're playing it, you know what's happening, and the character just flies through, too. He moves through the level. Yeah, this one definitely gets a C. It's the enhanced DOS 1999 version of Commando, and yeah, it's a C. I'm not going any lower. It's a C. Released in 1986 and then ported in 1989. This is Commando, and this is the first one that I really enjoyed playing out of all of them. I would say that this version here, and I know it's probably not a big surprise because you know I'm heavy on the 8-bit Atari stuff. I'm very heavy on that. But this one plays really great. The buttons make sense for the grenade versus the machine gun. You don't move too fast that it's crazy. There's not a ton of flicker on the screen. Your character is responsive, moves where you want to. There's the extra mechanic of you got a knife. You get a knife, and then you can go up to the bad guys, and it kind of like eliminates the one-hit deaths that you have so much during this game. This might not be the sexiest looking, it might not be the prettiest looking game, kind of these olive drabs, but it is one of the most fun, if not the most fun, out of all of them. I also appreciate that there's not a million of the bad guys on screen, so this is more about figuring out kind of techniques on how to beat certain areas rather than how to just gun people. So you've got also an underground area. It's like a hidden bunker. This is also in the NES version in a different way, but it's in the NES version, and it might be in other versions, but I didn't find it. I just stumbled upon it in this one. There it is. Well, listen, this is Commando for the Atari 800, and I love it. I'm going to give it an S. Yep, it gets an S. Best of the bunch. Oh boy, we've got the Intellivision up next. Commando for the Intellivision, and this one, it looks terrible. I think this is the worst looking one. You're going to say the Atari 2600 is, but this one is just brutal. All the Intellivision characters always look the same. They're that weird, blocky baseball player guy, the football guy, same guy. They use it for everything. But this game is... It's almost not playable. It is playable, but almost not. The character moves in such a weird way, and he's so slow and unresponsive, and the bad guys are fast. So you're slow. You're marching through this barren landscape, and they're flying at you, and you're just trying to do your best to not die, and you will fail many, many times at that task. So I would say this game is probably, I hate to give it it gets a D. The Intellivision version gets a D. It's bordering on an F, almost unplayable, but it gets a D. We might see the first F come up, though, in one of these. I don't know. We'll see. All right, next we've got Commando for MS-DOS 1986. This one's not good. This one's not good so much that you can't really even do anything. Look, the character moves like very fast and herky jerky, and you can get 2 feet without getting killed. Maybe there's a lot of bad guys on the screen. Maybe would be easier if I was playing with a joystick. I am playing with I got to use the keyboard because I couldn't get my joy to key thing to work, and so is this going to be? You're thinking it's got to be an F, right? Yeah, I could barely play it for more than 2 minutes. Look, I'm stuck. See, look, I'm stuck. I cannot move. I am stuck because the controls are weird. And when that happens, all you can do is just wait around and have somebody kill you, because you're going to die immediately anyway. So yeah. F. Sorry, MS-DOS. It's very cool the experience. I love that these games were available on DOS, but man, you got smoked by the European and the Japanese home computers, man. F. All right, next we've got the ZX Spectrum version. It says 1985 right there. And first of all, let's talk about how it looks. It looks great. I know that, this is probably limited appeal these days, but I just think it looks cool with the big bold colors. There's only like 4 colors on the screen or whatever, and it works well for this game. You can tell what's what, who's who, and where's where. And yeah, man, that works out pretty well. Unfortunately, it's brutally difficult, and I could only get so far. I kept on dying, and it's fun. It's run and gun, and it looks cool, but I gotta give it. Well, I'm gonna give it a C. I'm gonna give it a C. It's not unfun, but it's not like, broken. All right, so we're gonna say a C for Commando for the ZX, as they say, Spectrum. (1986) Atari 2600, Capcom and Activision released the port for Commando. Now this was late in the Atari's life cycle. In 1986, everyone was gearing up to either buy the Nintendo, or we were even looking at the Atari 7800 that was coming out the next year, and this game just kind of, I don't know anybody that had it because it was so late in the cycle, but it looks pretty bad. Now, this is another game that I put off. I never played, even though I've had the copy of it. I stopped. I never played it because I figured that I didn't like the arcade version. I wouldn't like the home console version, but I had never played the arcade version, so it makes no sense. This is a really fun version of the game, though. Sure, it's totally stripped down, but you still have your gun, and you still have your grenade, and there's still like the checkpoints, sort of. And it plays, he plays pretty smooth. He moves slow, but again, at least he's not zipping around the screen like a maniac. And you get killed pretty easily and pretty reasonably because there's so many bad guys. But this one's really fun. This one is going to get an A. I really enjoyed playing this one, and I think that it's one of the best of the bunch. It's Atari 2600 version of Commando by Activision. Like, this is one of the games, the versions that I thought, okay, it's going to be on my short list for games that I'll play again later that I want to keep playing. That's how much I liked it, so it gets an A. All right, next up, we've got the Atari 7800, the 7800 version of Commando. This was Data East, 1989, and it looks great, and it plays great as well. You've got the different options. You can start on a novice, or you can go, it's the beginner level, all the way up to like expert, and you can play on any of those. But it's great for learning, and the characters move well. You get ambushed, but it's not that bad. Everything is, you can see everything. It looks great. It plays great. It doesn't sound great. But that's one of the complaints from most of these versions. If I was rating them against other games, I don't know if they'd be doing so high. But this one, the sound just is not good on it. So it's going to get an A because it's one of the best. And I think I've given all the Atari ones A's, but whatever. It's super fun, and it's addicting to keep playing. You just want to keep playing. Alright, we've got the Nintendo Entertainment System version of Commando. This was 1986 by Capcom themselves, and I gotta be honest with you, a little bit disappointed. I'm disappointed in the game because there's a lot that's wrong with it. And that's unfortunate because it has the potential to be excellent, but because it's a Nintendo game, but putting it against the other ports, I can't give it that high of a grade. I'll tell you what's wrong with it, even though it's fun. First of all, there's so much graphical glitches and flicker on the screen. I mean, there's so much, it seems like the game's unfinished. And the flicker, so much flicker. It is very, very, very difficult, and there are too many enemies. They just keep coming, and you get gunned down so often. Look, I just fell. I mean, you can fall in water and die. You still got the grenade, and you still got the machine gun, but the machine gun has very limited range, at least at first. I don't know if you can get a better gun or not, but with all the bullets flying on the screen, it's just not fun. It's just plain old not fun. You can play it, maybe you put a Game Genie in or something, but the Nintendo version, a huge disappointment. I thought it was going to be better. I was really looking forward to playing it, but it's going to get a C, and that's because, look at the D's. The D's are so bad, but yeah, this one gets a C, unfortunately. Probably some people will complain and say that this is the classic version, but it wasn't for me, and I'm judging them all based on never playing them before. This game gets a C. So that leaves us with overall, how good of a game is Commando? If you put all the different versions, you take the very best of each version and tell me which one is the best. I'd like to know what you think out of these ones that you've played. Which one do you think is the most fun? Which one do you think is the least fun, the worst? I would like to hear from you down below. You can comment. For me, if I was going to give this game an overall grade for other games at the time, so we're talking 1985 to like 1989, it's going to probably get a C over a B overall, a B, because don't forget there's S's for superior. So like, what would I put it up against? Believe it or not, I put it up against like a Contra, and yeah, Contra is I know, a legendary, super fun game, but this game is very fun as well. So, yeah, I mean, I would definitely put it up amongst a Contra. And you know Contra's brutally hard anyway, and Contra's definitely, you know, it's a B. It's a super, super great game. Might even be an A, actually. But this game's not quite as good as Contra, so we'll do this one as a B overall. Overall grade for Commando is a B. Well, listen, I hope you enjoyed the list. It was a lot of fun making it. Always so cool to see these games on these other systems that I've never seen before, or play games that I've never played before. It's really awakening the retro gamer in me. Where, you know, sometimes you think, oh, I've played all these games, I don't want to play any more of the same games. There's a lot of other stuff out there that you haven't seen, and a lot of them play really, really well. So I recommend checking out the A's and the S's on these lists, and the B's are probably pretty good too. All right, until next time, as always, I will see you when I see you, and I say good luck, God bless, and good day, sir. Good day, sir.